Today we're going to unpack in rapid fire style 25 key features of the Yamaha DM7. I would imagine these are things you walk into the console at NAMM or AES and be like, oh, well, that's neat, and you elbow your buddy. Yeah, these are those 25 features. Excited to unpack those with you. We're going to be covering how it's unique in I/O, some of the unique channel processing, some cool monitoring features. Excited to share that with you. This console is about to go out on its first maiden voyage and show with Avad 3 Event Production, who I'm excited to be representing today. They are hiring and looking to add to the team, not only in technical roles, but in office, in warehouse, and leadership. So definitely check out the link below if you're interested in joining their team. So let's jump in and look at these 25 key features in the Yamaha DM7 that you're sure to love on this desk. First up, the DM7 has a redundant power supply. So they're both IEC connectors. One can be connected to shore power, maybe the other to an uninterruptible power supply or a UPS, so you have double redundancy for power to your desk. Second, this console has tons of I/O. It is insane. You've got 32 preamps built in, 16 analog outs. You've got 144 channels of Dante in and out built into the desk natively. You've got a PY slot with 64 channels in and out. If you put in a MADI card, you've got a built-in USB-C slot that has 18 in, 18 out. So it's insane how much I/O you have right out the gate. Number 3, the built-in recorder can record to USB, and on the CL and QL series desks, you can only record MP3 at 192 kilobits. Now you can record 24-bit at 96K, a huge improvement of local sound quality. Number 4, you have 120 input channels. That's been mentioned before in the other videos. Want to make sure you know that your effects returns are now on these channels. On the previous CL/QL series, you had dedicated effects returns. Now everything's just an input channel. You can route whatever you want to it. Which leads into number 5, I can basically make anything routed into an input. So instead of choosing maybe a local Omni in, I could choose a Dante in, a USB in, I could take in a PY slot, I can patch a premium rack output directly into a channel, and most excitingly for me, I can take a mix and bring it right back into an input. Even a matrix, my stereo bus, my Q bus, I really like how flexible that a channel can now get rerouted back in and receive signals for some creative routing solutions. Number 6, Yamaha finally has a grid view for patching. So I go here, I can see all my I/O here in one single grid view instead of having to go on each channel and patch accordingly. Number 7, on the oscillator page, I can now route this to any input. So I can put it on maybe the last input on my desk and then have more flexibility on where I can route it and how I can process it, instead of it having to pass it directly to an output with only an attenuator controlling the level. Number 8, you now have 2 stereo buses. Many desks have a stereo bus plus a mono bus for maybe a sub, but having 2 stereo buses means maybe I can have a house mix and then a stream mix from the same desk. Very flexible. Number 9, the desk has really flexible bus routing. So now I would go to send point, similar to the Ravage series desks, on a per mix, per channel basis. I can choose the tap point. So maybe certain in-ears mixes for my musicians, they want everything pre-processing and some want it post. I don't have to make that decision globally. I can make it on a per channel, per bus basis. Number 10, the DM series has also borrowed the custom fader layout from the Ravage series desks. Now on each bay, I can have 5 layers across 12 channels, making it very easy to create, maybe on a per show or per part of the show basis, access to channels that I need, and there's no shortage of ways I can arrange them or lay them out. Number 11 is the PY card slot. I mentioned this earlier, but it has multiple uses. The first one being a 64 channel MADI card that can be inserted. You can also add 8 channels of AES EBU over DB25 connector. And there's also an additional MIDI or GPIO card that can go on the desk. So depending on the use case that you need out of it, you can simply pick a card and go. And I imagine Yamaha is going to be adding different cards, maybe a Wave Soundgrade card or maybe even a AVB card to the lineup. We'll just see what they make. We're going to move on to some channel strip and processing with number 12, and that the gain range on the preamp is huge. You can go from -6, so you can attenuate, all the way up to +66. So that's a 72 dB gain range, or a multiplier of 4,000 for those keeping score at home. Number 13, your Dugan doesn't eat up a insert anymore. So now it is built in permanently post fader on every single input channel. So now I can go here, I've got 5 different groups so I can break things out, and I have 64 channels to play with to really have control over my dialogue microphones. Number 14, the dynamic EQ now has 4 bands. You still got the 2-band version to save processing, but here now the dynamic EQ, similar to what's in the CL and QL series, I now have 4 bands available to me. So now I can maybe use them on a vocal to control the proximity effect, maybe some de-essing or some mid-range honk, all within one plugin interface. Number 15 is super exciting to me, but you have built-in noise suppression. So this is the Dance. I have no idea how you say it, but this is a cedar clone that has fantastic algorithm for getting rid of background noise like AC or road noise, and can really clean up dialogue. It has a learn feature, so it can actually listen to the ambience in the room, then dynamically adjust the filters to adapt to it. It's a wonderful sounding processor, something we can dive into deeper on a later video. Number 16, every mix, matrix, and stereo bus has 8 bands of parametric EQ plus a high pass and low pass filter. They're completely variable. I can adjust them, poke around here, so I can get really detailed with EQ if I maybe need to ring out a really tough and ringy monitor mix or adjust the tonality of a speaker for the mains in my room. Number 17, the attenuator circuit built into the EQ has an upgrade. An attenuator attenuates, as we can see, but it can also boost the level up to 24 dB. This might be useful if you're having to yank out a bunch of level, maybe in a boomy microphone or a lav that's against someone's throat or chest, and you're losing level. You want to get a little bit back to get the tonality and gain structure correct. Number 18 is for those of us who are really anal about being exact, and is that you can actually get in 0.1 dB increments. If you press and hold the encoder and twist it, see the EQ attenuator is moving in 0.1 dB increments. So if you really want to dial in the change, exactly what's going on, you can also do this with the EQ gain range as well. So it's moving here and here, even the threshold on a compressor. So it naturally turns with every click 1 dB as you feel it notching, but you can get down to 0.1 dB. Number 19, you now have 4 different compressor models built into every single channel. So you have the legacy compressor that we're familiar with. We now have the Comm 260, which is similar to a DBX we all know. Then we also have the FET limiter, which is an 1176-ish type device. Then we have the diode bridge comp, which is a Neve compressor clone. And what's cool is if I change the threshold here on this setting, so right now it's at -17, if I now pull up the Comp 260, it's going to track the same. So I can audition different compressors very easily by just switching between the types, and it'll transfer the settings and keep them as close as possible, so you can audition just the circuit change, not necessarily the setting changes. Number 20, your insert points now have 4 slots. This is borrowing from the Ravage series desks. So if I have a vocal here, this would be a typical EQ I might start out with. But on my effects slots or inserts, I have the primary source enhancer. Then I've got the dynamic EQ with 4 bands set up there. Then I'm running it to the other side of it on the dual mode to serve as a de-esser that can move around to different frequencies. And then I have the LA2A after that. So these are all loaded up in the premium rack. Again, an individual channel can have 4 slots, and this would be a vocal chain I'd start with. Number 21, you can now have an insert on your headphone out. So this is really nerdy, but if you wanted to take a pair of headphones that you might be using Sound ID from SonarWorks with, or you know that their tonality isn't quite right, I can now insert one of the parametric EQs and balance it out. So what I'm hearing in my headphones is more neutral and natural. I can also do the same here with my monitor outs. So maybe you're mixing in a venue where the mixing console is actually in a booth somewhere and you're not in the room, and you have less than ideal monitors. You could get out your smart rig, measure it, and use a built-in EQ here in the desk to EQ them to get them closer to flat. Number 22, you now have 2 Q buses and 2 monitor buses. So I can have QA, one feeding in-ears, and QB feeding a wedge. And on a per bus and channel basis, I can change which ones those go to. And on the monitor buses, one can maybe be here for a set of near fields if I'm not in the room. And monitor B can be a variable route or set of EQ, maybe that I can have to route to my headphones that does maybe some band limiting so I can hear what it sounds like on a smaller speaker at home. Anyway, it's kind of a weird creative use, but having those resources and outputs available to you is really nice. Number 23 is the monitor source define function. So here on the monitor page, I go to monitor source define, and I have 8 different profiles I can pull from. So right now, monitor source profile 1 is stereo A. So this is just listening to my main mix. But I can have monitor source 2 pull stereo B, which might be my stream feed. And 3 might be my stars in your mix, and monitor 4 might be mix 2. So I'm no longer having to poke around on the desk and go find something and cue it. I can maybe have some custom fader or a custom button set up to quickly navigate and get there without having to cue it. Not only can I find those quickly, but I can also mix inputs. So maybe I want to listen to my stereo bus plus a direct input, maybe the comm that's coming in, so I can always hear comm and my main mix at the same time. Again, very powerful to be able to selectively listen to what I want. Number 24 is comm input and interrupt. So I've turned on comm here, and on both of these monitors I have comm interrupt pressed in. And that means if it gets signal from that comm input, it's able to duck down what I'm listening to, make sure that's prioritized, and then it brings back up that signal. So it doesn't even have to be the comm channel, but maybe an emergency input or the producer who's on a specific line can be routed in here, so I can always make sure and clearly understand what they're trying to say. Last and certainly not least, but I can cue and PFL a DCA. So it doesn't have to be an actual routing source or a bus that I have to cue, but the DCA can look back at whatever's routed to it and then also route that to my phone's or monitor output via the cue so I can hear what's going on. All right, that was it. 25 Easter eggs in the DM7. Hopefully this got you a little bit more comfortable with the console and the unique features that sets it apart in my book. I would love for you to leave a comment below on which was your favorite aha moment or feature that you found in the video, or maybe even one that I haven't got to that you've got to use in the field and really like. My name is Michael Curtis, hanging out here with the VOD 3 Event Production. They are hiring, so make sure and check out the link below if you want to join their team. See you next time.